Hey y'all, I'm AdaKay, and I must confess, I'm a trial junkie. I enjoy viewing trials as if I was the seated juror. So grab a cup of java, get comfy, and join me as we hop into court. And don't forget to comment, like, and most importantly, subscribe. And if you're really enjoying the channel, please join our membership. How are y'all doing? I am public, safe. Now they can come in. Great. I'm doing both Facebook and YouTube tonight. Welcome aboard, everybody. I'm AdaKay, and I hope you're doing well. Let's see who has joined us tonight. Yay. I'm so excited. This was going to be a members only live, but that said, I had people who wanted to watch me in another stream, so I had to open it up. But I appreciate everybody for being here. Tonight, we're just going to kind of talk around all the different cases that we've been dealing with lately. Just kind of have some fun, shoot the breeze, just kind of, freely talk about different things that have been happening. We have been, whoa, excuse me. We have been going through a lot of cases lately. I mean, it's just been one case after another case after another case in the trial system. So it has been a very, very, very busy week thus far. But next week is going to be super quiet. So I am looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to the peace and quiet of next week. Yeah. Well, this coming week, Thanksgiving week, starting tomorrow. Just to let everybody know that we have the ex-Lecter County Sheriff indictment hearing live tomorrow. I think it's 12 here or maybe 11 Central. So I'll find out tomorrow morning. It's Kentucky versus Sean Steins. He walked into a judge's chamber and unalived him. Yep. We still don't know the great details of that. We also have the verdict watch in the baby murder trial, and she was found guilty but mentally ill. So we may talk about that. Karen Reed has some more stuff coming up. It has just been a lot of stuff happening in the court. So yeah, yay. But I want to take out a minute to thank everybody. I know Thanksgiving's coming up, and I tell y'all all the time how much I appreciate you, but I really appreciate my mods, y'all. I cannot do this without my fabulous mods. They are amazing, and I love them dearly. And they work very hard, and they are just absolutely incredible. And I am so blessed to have them, every single one of them. We have some mods that have been with me from almost day one, and they worked really hard to get me up and going. And I just love you and bless you and thank you so much for all that you do. And then we have, As the Gavel Drops, we're partnered with them in Discord. It is where I get 99% of all my documents that we need to talk about court. And that is amazing, and we appreciate it. They are so awesome. And then we have, of course, Court TV. They're so kind and so gracious, and they're so supportive of people like me and allowing me to utilize their streams and everything. And it is kind of cool because I do think we have, let's see. Let's see what we have. I'm looking because they have some great interviews and things like that. So let me see what they have gotten put down for the last day or so. Um, I wanted to talk about Brian Kohlberger. Kohlberger case is, got some stuff going on, so we're gonna watch something on the Kohlberger case. Yay! We like Kohlberger case. It is interesting, I will say that. Yes, that's up and going. If you are watching me on Facebook, please, you are allowed to comment, I believe. Let me know that you've commented so I can make sure that it's working. Just say hi. You don't have to do anything else. And then we just tonight is just a fun night to interact with everybody and have fun and visit and just be ourselves. So hop on in. I appreciate it. So one of the things I need to talk about first is a lot of you guys have been asking about my sister, Tracy. And Tracy is a phenomenal woman who survived triple negative breast cancer 5 years ago. And almost a year ago, in December, just before Christmas, a year ago, she was diagnosed with stage 4. It was just went from 0 to stage 4. It just exploded in her body. And she has had chemo and she's done everything and she has fought valiantly. And this last week was in the hospital and things have been very difficult. And I ask continued prayers. This has been hard on the family, friends, and all who love her. So, once again, thank you guys for all your love and support and all your well wishes and your prayers that I have received and been told about. And it just really blesses me. I told them that y'all were praying for her and that y'all have asked about her. And it just knocked their socks off because we are a community here. And that is important for me to make sure that we stay that way. Okay. So, that we'll be having Thanksgiving this year together. So that's awesome. I hope oh, I have a kitty. What kitty, kitty? Yeah, the kitty opened the door. Um, I hope everybody has a phenomenal Thanksgiving. As you can see, I've got a little bit of Thanksgiving decorations up behind me. I'm looking forward to it. I really, really am. It's going to be fabulous. So, what I'd like to do is let's kind of talk about some of the people that we've been watching this year. We have, first of all, let's talk about the situation with the judge that it was unalived. So, what basically happened was, and I'm going to put this in front of me, the here we go. 2 months ago, a video was released showing Steins, the ex-sheriff, of unaliving a Kentucky judge at point blank range in his chambers. The former sheriff, Sean Mickey Steins, has been indicted for the unaliving of the judge. The incident happened and in the judge's actual chambers. Now, it was really an office. And this was a very big shock, and it was caught on videotape. The Steins, who was a sheriff at the time of the unaliving, did resign on October 1st, just hours before appearing in court. Investigators have not offered any potential motive for this act at this point. Those who knew Steins is, did I just stop myself? Yeah. Ann Mullen said that the two had worked together for many years and were good friends. In fact, I think they even had a meeting or lunch or some breakfast or something together that morning. But to this date, the prosecutors have not announced whether they will seek the DP for this crime. It was quite shocking. I have seen the video and it was absolutely crazy. He walked in, was talking to the judge for a minute, picked up the judge's cell phone. Now, it is rumored that he called his own daughter from the judge's cell phone, but the daughter did volunteer or work part-time there in that court office. So to me, it wouldn't be unusual for him to have the phone. However, the situation was is that there was another deputy sheriff that worked in the office, in the courthouse as a bailiff, who was having inappropriate, intimate relationships with female women who were having to do either ankle monitoring or some probational stuff. And he was exchanging intimate acts in the judge's office. Now, I don't know if the judge knew about it or not. They're not telling us yes or no at this point. But wow, it was horrible. Had to give my son a blanket. You laying down? So, anyway, so it was one of those things that was absolutely shocker to actually see the unedited video. My heart goes out to the families, definitely the family of the judge. I can't imagine anything he did or potentially did or knew about happening that would have caused this guy to do what he did. So that's one of the cases we've been following. For those of you who are aware of Karen Reed, that case is still ongoing, and we constantly have stuff popping up on that one. But I don't think we have anything on the books yet until January the 14th. And then her trial is still slotted for November. What are you doing, Sensei? Then you lay down. My dog just pushed me out of the way to lay in front of me. Let's see. Anybody watching live from YouTube, can you please post a comment? It's not coming up on my feed for some reason, and I don't know why. I don't know if it's because I'm streaming on multiple feeds, so I'm going to go over here, open up my live and pull out my comments. Okay, there's all my comments. Well, I don't know why I can't see them on my live. I was like, there's no comments. Oh my gosh, that was so frustrating. Okay. Oh, I've got comments. Hello, everybody. Oh my gosh, let me go up and catch up. Christine, you've been a member for a month. Haley Mouse. Hello, Mary Kay. Hey, Libby. Oh my gosh, Dawn. Hello. I have no laptop and getting regret. Oh, Dawn, I'm sorry. We love you. Good evening, Toxic. C. Morales. Oh, how awesome. Thank you all for your love and prayer. ADHD Jelly Bean Law Nerd. Yay. Thank you for joining. Oh my gosh, out and about with Dianne. Oh my gosh, all of you, Erica, Don, all of you, thank you so very much. I am in the process of trying to figure out how to do a fundraiser for Tracy and her husband to help them offset some bills and the financial strain that's about ready to hit, that's already hit, but going to hit even harder. So I look forward. Y'all be looking forward for that. I don't know what I'm going to do or how I'm going to do it yet, but we'll see. We shall see. It'll be what it is. We'll see what it is. We'll see how it goes. I'm going back over here to my page, pulling it up. I wish I could pop out chats, but I can't in the other one. So my YouTube people or anybody or Facebook, what do you guys want us to talk about? In the meantime, I have a Brian Kohlberger's DNA on Knife the Sheath. This was posted 2 days ago. Court TV has given me permission to share that stuff. Yes, y'all, come on, hit the like. Come on, get those likes up for the algorithm, please. Please, please, please. That would be oh so helpful. Why is this not allowing me? It's not allowing me to, because we're multiple living it now, it won't allow me to pop up comments like I used to, and I don't know why. And that is weird. Okay, I did that. So why are we? Your comments are not showing up there. They're only showing up here. So I will only be able to do this. Yeah. Let me see if I can pop them up. Pin message. That's what I want. So we are going to talk about Kohlberger. If y'all are okay with that, let me know. That's right. Also, do me a favor, pop up the As the Gavel Drops Discord. That would be fabulous. Okay, since that live is running well, I'm going to turn it off so I don't have too many things going at once. It'll help me out a lot. There we go. So what we're going to do is we're going to watch some court TV. I may get in trouble on Facebook. I don't know, but they gave permission to share their content. So here we go. Now, this is on the Brian Kohlberger case. And I got to get it up.
The subject of my investigation is the Idaho student murders. 4 students living in an off-campus house stabbed to death in the middle of the night. It's the most anticipated trial on Court TV's docket, a case the nation is waiting to see. Here's the story. In the early morning hours of November 13th, 2022, 4 University of Idaho students were stabbed to death inside their off-campus residence. Ethan, Xana, Maddie, and Kaylee all gone. The brutal crime shook the community and touched the nation, setting off an intense manhunt for a killer. Investigators from the Moscow Police Department joined forces with the Idaho State Police and the FBI, following every lead, every tip, and every piece of evidence. That investigation took them across the country to Pennsylvania and led them to this man, a grad student at a neighboring university. This man, now accused of being a mass murderer, responsible for one of the most notorious crimes on our docket. Despite the arrest, very little information has been made public, and there are many questions still left unanswered about the brutal quadruple murder. This is such a horrific story. I remember when the story first broke, you're trying to figure what happened here. Was it some sort of fight? Was it some sort of jealous rage? And now we understand that they believe is a madman, psychotic killer who did this. I want to read from the affidavit from the case. This is the statement of Brett Payne, who's from the Moscow Police Department, and provides some important information here. Both Gonzalez and Mogan were deceased with visible stab wounds.
How did we do what?
I also later noticed what appeared to be a tan leather knife sheath laying on the bed next to Mogan's right side. That's Maddie's right side. The Idaho State Lab later located a single source of male DNA, suspect profile, left on the button snap of the knife sheath. Now, I have with me right now the same type of knife. This is a K-bar, and this is the little snap button right here on top. So if you have the knife, this is how you would release the knife. You've got to snap this open. And this is where they say they found the DNA, right on this very
because when you're
small
snapping,
little snap.
Raking your finger.
That was it.
That little.
Now the knife sheath, I can't imagine
the DNA
that it was left there on purpose. It has a loop on it. So would you put it around your belt normally? Was this a mistake? Was this done on purpose? Some sick way that he wanted to perhaps get caught? I don't know. But this is the crucial piece of evidence, the DNA left on the snap button on this knife sheath. Now, the knife has never been found. It was just the sheath that holds the knife that they believe is, in fact, the murder weapon in this case. So that brings us to our first question in this investigation. How was the suspected killer linked to the knife sheath? Right? You've got the DNA from the knife sheath, but how do you connect that to the suspect? Joining me to help us work through all of this, former homicide detective and host of the Interview Room with Chris McDonough. Chris McDonough is with us, and also joining us, laboratory director for Pure Gold Forensics. She has more than 20 years of experience in DNA analysis, forensic DNA expert, Susanna Ryan. Great to have both of you here. Let me give you one more piece of information that I think is crucial here. Again, from the affidavit. On December 27th, 2022, so a little more than a month after the quadruple murders, Pennsylvania agents recovered the trash from the Koberger family residence located in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania.
Wow.
A DNA profile obtained from the trash and the DNA profile obtained from the knife sheath identified a male as not being excluded as the biological father of the suspect profile. At least 99.9998% of the male population would be expected to be excluded from the possibility of being the suspect's biological father. All right, Chris McDonough, I'm going to begin with you in the collection of this trash and how an operation like that works, and what are some of the obstacles involved with that?
Sure, Vinny. Well, first of all, if it's trash, then it's considered under the law abandoned property. So anybody could just go up and grab it at any time, and that's what the feds did. They were on a surveillance up there in Pennsylvania watching the house because they had additional information from the lab that says, hey, we may have some DNA material and it's pointing this way. And so they set up on that house and grabbed that trash when they had the opportunity.
All right, Susanna Ryan, let's talk about the process now of going from a piece of trash to making a match. Physically, what has to be done here?
Right. So when we get items from a trash pull, the problem is we don't know who has touched or contacted those items. And so one of the things that we need to do is just start testing multiple items. And in this case, I'm sure that the hope was that they would get a direct match to Brian Koberger, but the next best thing was a match to someone that could not be excluded as his biological father.
So when you're examining trash, like in a lot of these DNA cases that we have, we're always talking about bodily fluids. If it's a rape case, we know where the DNA is going to come from. If it's a case involving blood, it's obvious, right? A blood stain. But if you're going through trash, how do you find or try to extract DNA from trash?
Right. So the best thing could be something like a water bottle, some sort of drink container where we do have an expectation of seeing the perpetrator or the suspect leaving their DNA through saliva on that item. But, I've had some pretty interesting items that I've tested, medical devices and Band-Aids and just anything where someone, you have a reasonable expectation that your person of interest contacted it, that they were the only one that touched it, that they themselves maybe licked a stamp or envelope or, something like that, where you're hoping to get that person's DNA to do a direct comparison. And again, I have had cases like this where we've had to do basically what we call a reverse paternity. So we have this DNA on the item of evidence. It's unknown. We don't know whose it is. Now we get someone else's DNA from a trash pull, and it's an exclusion. We know it's not that person, but we can tell through the DNA analysis that there's a close match. And so in this case, probably was the father.
Are you shocked they were able to extract DNA from something like this, a snap button on a knife sheath, Susanna?
Not at all. We do it every day. It's pretty amazing the things that we can get DNA from when you consider that people are constantly leaving their DNA behind. Just being, physically being in a location, you're leaving your DNA behind. So nowadays we can get DNA from a couple of cells worth of DNA. That's all we need.
Chris, I want to put something else that just came through on a defense filing. We're learning a little bit more about what happened. And I want to get your reaction as a homicide investigator. On December 30th, 2022, 1:14 a.m., Pennsylvania SWAT raided the suspect's parents' home. During the raid, law enforcement broke the front door of the home, shattered the sliding glass door of the basement, and held the entire family at gunpoint, and then seized the defendant. That's when they're making the arrest on December 30th. Then at 4 a.m., Pennsylvania State Police filed a criminal complaint against the suspect. Agents searched his person, took his fingerprints, pictures of his body, and a DNA swab was taken from him. So, Chris, are you shocked at the way the arrest went down at 1:14 a.m.? The defense is complaining about this. Smashing, holding him at gunpoint. What are your thoughts about the way that went down?
Not at all, Vinny. I mean, he's lucky to have a front door. Based on the totality of the circumstances here, officer safety is going to be at the top of that, pile. So they don't know what they're dealing with. They obviously feel that he was a top priority suspect. At that point, they didn't know if he was armed, if he was going to be armed inside of his house or his parents' house there.
I got to stop that. By the way, thank you, Toxic. I just did. You're so amazing. Like I said, ask and you shall receive. Y'all are such awesome people. Thank you so very much. Okay. I get so frustrated when we have people complaining about the way these warrants are served when they're served appropriately. When you serve a warrant, oh my gosh, y'all, there is just, it doesn't matter who is in the home. They're going to be careful. They're going to take everybody, yes, you may be at gunpoint. Been there, done that. It ain't fun. They have to protect themselves. And until they have everything situated and know that they're safe and you're not a harm to them, you are going to be detained. If you're visiting the house and it just so happens to get raided while you're there, you will be detained until they ascertain who you are, what role, if any, do you have in this situation in which they're serving the warrant for, etc. And the family gets detained, and the one they need to be mad at is Kohlberger, not the police. They're doing their job. There have been situations that, hold on. My skin, Mary Kay, my skin is so dry and flaky. I have DNA all over the place. Yeah. It's bad when you get up out of bed, not me, but my ex, get up out of bed and you can see just flakes of skin. Yeah, that's bad eczema. So, if you're going to be upset at anybody, be upset at the person that's caused the situation. I don't get it. And it's frustrating to me. I am going to school, as most of you know, to get a degree in criminal justice. And one of the things I've been learning about are search warrants and all these kind of activities. And, it's happened many times when they go to serve a warrant on John Doe, and Jane Doe walks in, an older woman with a weapon trying to defend her son. And then there's a security issue. So for me, I don't have a problem with what's going on.
So quite frankly, the fact that they came through the front door, I've been on, arrest warrants where the SWAT guys go in and they literally just hook a chain to the front door and pull it off the hinges. And then they go in with a flashbang and they take everybody to the ground. So I think this was quite reasonable, to be honest with you.
All right, Susanna, so after they make that arrest, they do the swab of the suspect and they say they have matched it. Looking at the way the DNA was gathered in this case, from the snap, from the swab, from the garbage, do you see any potential problems for prosecutors in this case related to the DNA? Because I think we all agree, if this stuff stands up, this is the most compelling evidence linking this defendant to the crime scene.
It is. And I don't.
So assuming that the testing was done properly, then I don't think there's an issue necessarily with the fact that the DNA is consistent with Kohberger. I would say my issue would be, well, this is a movable object. So yes, maybe his DNA is present on this item, but that doesn't necessarily automatically correlate to him having committed the murders, right?
Did they find any additional blood? Does anybody ask? I mean, I'm asking all of y'all in chat. Did they find any additional blood on that weapon? And if they did, was it able to be tested for the victims? That's an issue. If he was able to clean it properly, except for he didn't clean under there. Yeah, I wonder. Just wonder as I wonder. Sorry.
Right. So I think it's an important piece of evidence. But to me, I think that some of the other circumstantial evidence is going to help bolster this physical evidence, because they don't seem to have Kohberger's DNA, directly on the victim's body, or a blood stain, or a fingerprint in that house. They have this, but the argument could be made that that knife sheath was left there by someone else, by the true killer.
Oh, I'm sure we will hear that. Big thanks to Susanna Ryan, Chris McDonough, thanks as well. Coming up next, does the death penalty make this case easier or more difficult?
I think
under Idaho law, the method of execution is lethal injection, and if unavailable, then the firing squad.
Let me tell you what I know about that. It went buku crazy with that hearing where that judge was. And it was absolutely insane. Because here's the thing. There are people waiting on the DP. I can't say the word because of YouTube and live streaming, but DP for a very long time. And why have they been waiting for DP for a long time? Because the manufacturer of the medication that they use to, unalive the person is no longer available, or it is in such low quantity that they don't have enough to go around. And it's harder. They kind of can't fulfill the DP that they already have for the ones who've been waiting on death row for a long time. So the defense is like, hey, you should take the DP off the table, because guess what? There's a freeze on serving those sentences because there's a lack of the medication, and it's not fair. It's mental cruelty for him to sit there and agonize over when he's going to have his life ended. And I'm all like, are you kidding me? So now he wants it to go to life in prison without the possibility of parole. I was like, really? I'll send him some antifreeze if there's a penalty of Fent out there. Plenty of Fent out there. Yep. So they were using that situation to get him off of the potential for DP. That said, life in prison and DP costs the taxpayers a buku amount of money. They all have their appellate rights and issues, and it costs the tax dollars taxpayers billions of dollars. I'm sure if you add it all up across this country on the appeals issues. And we do have a lot of people in prisons right now on death row. So Bring back the electric chair? I don't know. I'm not saying we should. I don't want to cause a rift out there, but you know, the judge made the comment, well, there's always a firing squad. And I was like, you went there. You went to the firing squad. Oh my gosh. Oh, I'm trying not to talk over the video. Thank you, Toxic. That's why I paused it. But oh my gosh, y'all. I was like, are you kidding me? He is actually sitting there saying there's always the firing squad. I was like, whoa. So let's watch it.
Soon to Court TV.
It's the biggest story that we're covering.
He is the boogeyman.
Lori Daybell,
She said, I will have you destroyed.
filed by defendant challenging various aspects
I'm ready for
of
Lori
Idaho's
Daybell.
capital punishment scheme. The court concludes relief in the defendant's favor is not warranted on any of the motions. Based on the foregoing analysis, defendant's death penalty motions are hereby denied. Judge Hippler. So it's remains a death penalty case. And we cover a lot of death penalty cases here on Court TV, and we have these discussions all the time. And many times I hear from criminal defense attorneys, and you know, I take it with a grain of salt because they're criminal defense attorneys and they have their position. None of them believe in the death penalty. But they always say it makes it more difficult for prosecutors when it's a death penalty case. And I was thinking about that for this case. And it brings me to my next question. Does the death penalty make this case easier or more difficult for the prosecution?
I think it's harder for the prosecution.
I think there's arguments on both sides. But does that make this a more difficult case for prosecutors because it is a death penalty case, despite the fact that the defense was trying to get that eliminated for obvious reasons? Joining me, an attorney who was involved in another high-profile death penalty case in Idaho, representing Chad Daybell. John Pryor is with us. John, great to see you. Let me ask you, what are your thoughts about that? The fact that this is a death penalty case, does it make it more difficult for prosecutors, whether it's in the initial prosecution or just in the way the case will progress from beginning all the way to the end?
Well, Vinny, you noted that the criminal defense attorneys generally tell you that including the death penalty is going to make it more difficult. But the nature of this case and the allegations are pretty egregious. And I think that having the death penalty on this case makes it easier for the prosecution.
Explain to me why, John.
Well, I think it's because in order to get the death penalty in Idaho, there have to be aggravating factors. And in Idaho, you only need one aggravating factor. And there's a long list of aggravating factors in Idaho that qualify for someone to get.
An aggravating factor can be, i.e., a lethal weapon was involved in the unaliving, for example. That can be an aggravating factor.
Get the death penalty. And if the jury comes back and says one of the aggravating factors applies, they can vote to give the death penalty. Utter disregard for human life, cruel, outrageous, atrocious conduct. That's another one. In this particular case, we're talking about 4 college students, from what I gathered, who were by someone were brutally stabbed and killed. I think under that circumstance, the 3 or 4 aggravating factors that qualify for this being outrageous, atrocious, total disregard for human life, I think that would qualify. I think in this instance, it's a no-brainer for the prosecutor to pursue the death penalty in this particular case.
And joining our conversation right now by phone, the defense attorney who represented Andrea Yates, George Parnham is with us. George, great to catch up with you. It's been a long, long time.
Yes, it has.
Let me ask you, from your perspective, do you think when the death penalty is now in the mix in a high-profile murder case, does it make it more difficult or easier for prosecutors?
I think certainly from my perspective as a defense lawyer, I think it's more difficult for the government or the state as far as the merits of the prosecution is concerned. Remember that be it judge or jury, this is the ultimate decision, and it's going to weigh very heavily on the fact finder or the judge or jury that makes the determination. So I think it's more difficult and harder on the prosecution. I've had death penalty cases, and certainly, at least in Texas, we have individual voir dire where the individual prospective juror will take the stand.
By the way, for those of you who are new to this world on Facebook, voir dire basically means they're going to question them outside the presence of the jury to see what their answers are before putting them in front of a jury in hopes to avoid a mistrial in some situation.
And outside the hearing of the other prospective jurors and be questioned by the state as well as the defense to determine whether or not the individual.
Testing. 1, 2. Testing. I'm almost maxed on my voice. If you can't hear me, let me know. I don't know why. I looks like I'm screaming on my monitors here.
Individual has any bias or prejudice for or against the penalty of death. But I think the very essence of the ultimate decision, taking a life, has got to play so heavily on the mindset of the judge or jury that it obviously I think weighs very heavily on the state or the prosecuting authorities to get a death penalty case. Jurors, this is, as I said, the ultimate decision, and nobody wants to sit on a jury, at least based on my experience, where they have to make a determination.
Oh, it's
regardless
tough.
of the egregious nature.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a tough job. John Pryor, let me ask you about in Idaho. It's going to be in Ada County. It's going to be in Boise. What are your thoughts about the population there and their thoughts about the death penalty?
Oklahoma.
Well, I respectfully to George, I don't think it's as big of a burden for the state in Idaho as Mr. Parnham would suggest. In this particular
Appreciate having you, Kelly.
Now, some of the information and evidence.
I apologize. Here we go.
It's going to be in Ada County. It's going to be in Boise. What are your thoughts about the population there and their thoughts about the death penalty? Well, I respectfully to George, I don't think it's as big of a burden for the state in Idaho as Mr. Parnham would suggest. In this particular case, this was a very it is a very high-profile murder case. Terrible fact pattern, terrible circumstances, and when you're picking a death penalty jury, the reality is that the vast majority of the folks who were interviewed for when you're deciding and picking a jury will tell you that either they're in favor of the jury or in favor of the death penalty, or they're strongly in favor of the death penalty. And it's the exception, at least my experience is it's the exception that you get someone that says, I'm strongly opposed or I'm opposed to the death penalty. And when you're dealing with the circumstances like Kohlberger, where there are 4 college students who, from the facts I have, were brutally murdered by someone, I think it gets you there pretty easily. John Pryor, great to catch up with you. George Parnham, always a pleasure. I'm Vinny Politan. We'll keep digging for answers.
Okay, let's talk about the DP. What are y'all's beliefs on that subject? I find it interesting that last week in my class, in college, we talked a lot about DP and the pros and the cons and the two sides. There's very little gray in the death penalty. There's always for or against. It's a very tough subject, and there's those who have a religious view, those who have, oh, that's not very nice.
The investigation continues.
Try to get him a better pause. There we go. I have a lot of opinion on it, and I want to know your opinion. And by the way, if anybody wants to hop on live with me, just let me know in the comments. I'll send you the link, and I'd love to have you come on and let's have a discussion. So if you're brave enough to hop on tonight, let me know. Love to have you. So the death penalty. Part of the reason why I think some people support it. Okay, ADHD jelly bean. Let me do this. Okay, let me go into ADHD jelly bean. Are you in my Discord? Yes, you are. Okay, I will invite you. There we go. I sent it to you. Check Discord. I did toxic. I just saw that. Thank you very much. You did fabulous. Go ahead. I just left you a message. Thank you once again, Toxic. Appreciate you. I agree. Thank you so much. You did a great job. Hello, K-Swan. Are you back? Yay! Yay, K-Swan. Thank you. You're back. I'm all excited. So death penalty. We've had several cases where that has been on the table. Haley Mouse says, I think it has its place. I just think it should be reserved for the case that there's a clear evidence of guilt. Circumstantial evidence cases probably should not qualify. Well, that is where a lot of people struggle. A lot of people struggle with that. And so, sorry, I got a message. A lot of people do struggle with that. And one of the arguments is that unless there's irrefutable proof, then it shouldn't be an option, because people have been on death row and then have been released years later when they find DNA evidence, as DNA has progressed over the years, especially in the 80s, 70s, 80s, and early 90s. But the same people are also talking about how, well, we pay, it will cost millions upon millions upon millions to keep an inmate in prison, and it's all on the taxpayers. It's roughly, they say, about $1 million a year for inmates who are lifetimers. And then sometimes it may not be that at the beginning, but the average is $1 million a year. And then you've got lifetimers in there who are aging out or getting up there in age and need a lot more medical care and having a lot more health care. Oh my gosh, you drove 2,500 miles to be home. Girl, I've done that before. And it costs a lot of money. And a lot of people are also on the opposite. DP inmates cost them more throughout the whole of their appeals, etc. They do. It's astronomical how much money the death penalty inmates do cost. On the side of the death penalty and people being for it, they say it's a financial burden on the citizens, number one. And what happened for eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth? And, those kind of things. Now, the judge that was hearing this situation about whether it should be the life or death penalty, sorry, was making it very clear that just because their state right now is behind on the execution sentencings, does not mean that he's going to necessarily take it off. And they were arguing, well, it's mental cruelty to leave somebody on death row for a long period of time and not having an end date. And I'm all thinking, dude, if I was on death row, keep me alive as long as possible. And in fact, some believe that the death penalty, life is worse than death because you there a long time. Hello to Brit. Thank you for volunteering. I love people who volunteer. Thanks for stopping in and saying hi. I think there needs to be absolute proof of guilt. It's not just circumstantial. That's what Toxic said. I agree. For example, now Sarah Boone, that name just gives me the quivers. Sarah Boone photo or videoed and took photos of what she was doing that unalived the fiance, boyfriend, whatever you want to call him. There was no doubt what she did. And she admitted it. I left him in there. I did it. I left him in there. But in other cases, you don't have that much proof. The Melody Ferris trial, where she was accused and found guilty of unaliving her husband and putting him, either unaliving him next to a burn pit, getting a tractor and rolling him in the burn pit, and we don't know, and has been found guilty. Y'all, I was surprised how fast that jury came back with the guilty verdict on that, because there was a lot of circumstantial evidence on that trial, a lot. I'm sorry, I'm having a little bit of allergy attack, so forgive me. So we have issues with that by far. I have issues. Yep. So the situations with when there's a lot more proof that like DNA or whatever, definitely, I think that should be a possibility. But do you know what? I hope I never sit on a trial where I have to decide guilt or innocence. Dale Brooks is another one. They had the proof. Was thought of being back the doe for his case. What? Dale Brooks is another one. They had proofy whizzed through of being back the DO for his case. So right now there's some states that are starting to really argue the death penalty. So that's going to be interesting to see how all that goes. Let me go back. Right now, just so you know, Karen Reed had a benefit dinner to help for her raise money for her legal funds. I do want to watch. This was 5 days ago. About in Austin, Texas, 2 hours away from me. Yeah. I don't know if y'all heard of this, but let's go.
This is going to be from Commander Lee Davis. I'll read it in behalf of him. Homicide 62 did involve
as I can get it.
Homelessness. So again, this statement is in behalf of Commander Lee Davis, Leedavis. And I'll just read the statement for you now. It says, "My condolences and prayers to all involved and impacted. Loss of life is always tragic. This is particularly tragic because of the recklessness of human behavior. The Austin Police Department is working diligently with all the stakeholders including Caritas, the site management team, security, the Homeless Strategy Office, and of course, our council member, Jose Vela. Our goal is to find meaningful and pragmatic ways to ensure that there is no misalignment of intent of the location and impact to the community. This location houses some of our most vulnerable community members, and for some, this is a last stop for hope. That does not mean their hope should come at the cost of everyone else's safety and well-being. Finding that intersection of coexistence where everyone has a seat at the table and benefits from that seat is where we seek to be. And with that, we'll turn it over to some general questions from Lieutenant Askew, or general statements from Lieutenant Askew. Once we get to questions for the detectives, if you could raise your hand, please, and then we'll call on you for those. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for coming today. My name is Sheldon Askew, and like Claire said, I'm the lieutenant over the homicide and aggravated assault.
We've had 2 more mass homicides of families, and it's the unaliving. It's the unaliving of the family members and then trying to self-unalive. This is the 3rd.
Units. I want to start by recognizing the tragic events that have brought us here today. Anytime that anyone loses their life in the city of Austin, it not only affects the family members, the loved ones, and the friends of those who have passed, but the community at large. And the police department wants to recognize that and offer its condolences to all those that were affected. Today, we're going to give a briefing on multiple homicide cases that have happened over the past 2 weeks.
Toxic.
We are going to be briefing those cases and offering an opportunity for you all to ask questions. Please keep in mind, these are active, ongoing investigations. There are going to be things we might not be able to answer, but it's simply to preserve the integrity of the investigation if that's the case. Before we get started, what I want to do is recognize not only the homicide unit, but I also want to recognize the Lone Star Fugitive Task Force, the risk unit within the police department, the intelligence unit in the police department, and the civilian staff, which includes the victim services units and others who play an integral role in the investigation of these cases and the justice that we seek for the victims involved. And with that, I'll turn it over to Detective Spittler.
On Thursday, November 7th, 2024, approximately 4:34 p.m., Austin Police Department officers responded to the 2600 block of Rosewood Avenue for reports of a shooting. When officers arrived on scene, they found one victim, later identified as Matthew Escalante, with a gunshot wound. Mr. Escalante was transported to a local hospital where life-saving measures were performed. Aggravated assault detectives and crime scene specialists responded to process the scene and interview witnesses. The investigation showed that Mr. Escalante had arrived to meet someone and was then shot and killed by a suspect, who then fled the area with additional suspects. The following day, on November 8th, 2024, at 3:20 p.m., Mr. Escalante was pronounced deceased at the hospital. This case was then transferred to the homicide unit and is actively being investigated as Austin's 58th homicide of 2024. If there's anyone with any information, we are asking that you contact the Austin Police Department at 512-974-TIPS, TIPS. You may submit your tip anonymously through Capital Area Crime Stoppers program by visiting either Austin Crime.
I'm going to stop there because they're going to start talking about something I know where it's going and it's going to cause us a problem. It is really getting disheartening in this community. Hello, ADHD Jelly Bean. Hello. Do you want me to pop you on? Okay, you're going to have to pull back a little bit, love, because your face is about like that. Oh my gosh, let me add her to stage. Well, there you are. How are you?
Hello. I'm alive.
I'm alive.
Barely, but you know.
Really?
I'm tired. Change of season makes me tired.
I hate it. Just leave it the way it is in the summer, where it's light late. I hate coming home. I mean, I'm outside at 5:30 and it's already dark. And I'm like, oh.
Sad. It's sad.
It's great camping weather for the winter, but I'm right here, baby girl. So, what are your thoughts on the situation with the death penalty? On especially, or as what your personal thoughts are, what you think about the Kohlberg or the situation? The judge did actually say, "We always have the firing squad." I was like,
Damn.
"Booyah!"
It was their argument. I understand where they're coming from. This previous one with like how they were going to, but like as the judge said, it's not ripe yet. Like it's just way the frick over in the future and not actually where they need to be right now. It's like so many steps into the future. But the DP in general, I can see like eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth type of thing, but also it's such a complicated and hard topic to talk about in general. Just like some people are so for it and so against it.
It isn't an eye for an eye because you're getting put down on a gurney, you're giving medication to sedate you, and you go night night. There is some uncomfortableness to it and anxiety. But
Well, yeah.
why don't an eye for eye means what you did to them is going to happen to you.
I wouldn't like, yeah, that's basically where my brain goes in that is like, you should maybe at least understand the damage that you did before you are either put in prison for the rest of your life or DP, in my opinion. Like, have some way of making them understand. I don't know how, but
You can't.
Exactly. It's hard.
A lot of them, honestly, you can't. And a lot of them are so sick that they'll never get it. Look at Sarah Boone. I was like,
girl, come on, man.
This is what you had to
day. Mm-hmm. It was a good day.
Really? That's all you could come up with when you unalive the guy, you come up with,
we had a good day. Mm-hmm. It was a good day.
I no, if I had been in her shoes and then it was an accident, I would have been hysterical. I would have been crying. I would have been going 8 nuts.
Like you would show at least some type of emotion.
Yeah.
Not the just cold nothingness. Remorse would be great. So that's something they look at, right? Like afterwards, after an event happens, they look at the remorse thing, right? They take it into consideration or whatever. Sometimes maybe.
Well, it depends. It depends on the situation, but and like with Kohlberg, and they're sitting there trying to get him off the death penalty. And I understand it was a Hail Mary. I get it. That's their job.
It is their job.
I just would love the soundbite of the judge saying, "We can always do the firing squad."
Interesting judge. I like them so far. Although I did love Judge.
I love Judge, but who was the judge for Sarah Boone? What's his name? Kranick. I'm really bad with names.
So am I.
Is going to get. I'm pretty sure he's going to win it, but I'm going to do a vote for the Judge of the Year, and then I'm going to send them the ADA channel Judge of the Year award.
That would be hilarious.
Brilliant. I am. I'm going to take a picture of it and get it made and have it right here and send it to his office. Well, to his assistant, not directly to the judge.
Yeah, not directly.
No better than to do that. So what are your thoughts about the sheriff that shot the judge?
That video was horrifying. And
oh, by the way, Dr. Bullbutter just said Judge was not capable of making decisions.
I can understand why she comes from that point for sure, but I did like how he was just such a law nerd. Like, he was such a geek about it that he just wants to talk it out all the time. Like, that is his thing. And I'm like, I like this judge because he does want to be thorough, and like, he is giving each side equal consideration, and like, he's very even. Maybe a little bit too much into it sometimes, but like, just seeing his law nerdness sometimes is kind of funny and cute in a way, if you know what I mean. Like, it's like, oh, like a judge who actually likes what they're doing. That's nice. And you can just see it. And it's something that you can see he's meant to be doing.
Do the worst Judge of the Year award. Does anybody have a clue who that's going to be? Sister Bev. I mean, Auntie Bev.
Yeah, that, yes. Isn't she supposed to be like taken, like, isn't she not supposed to be a judge by next year or something?
She went down to civil court.
Oh.
She came out of that, the criminal, and went into the civil. But Auntie Bev is still on this case. This was her last hurrah. Hi, Dr. Potter. She goes, we don't have time for all that, though. She said they all rotate. They do, but I'm surprised. See, I think once personal opinion, not legal, that a judge should not be able to do, the judge that presided over the case should not be able to do the appellate over the case. And if it's a retrial, mistrial, or whatever, I don't think that same judge should be the judge again. I think that opens it up too much for litigation in the, I just smeared my eyebrows. I don't actually have much eyebrows, y'all. So anyway, but I don't think they should do the trial over again. I think they need to have a different judge.
I would agree with that for sure. They need something new. Like, I was just so happy that there was a new prosecutor for the Karen Reed case. Like, I was like, oh my goodness, somebody hopefully who can like do their job. Wow. Wouldn't that be nice?
The letter says retrial is not appellate, but they do make an appeal, and the judge that heard the trial and was in on the first trial is the first level of the appellate system. And then they go up to the next level, the next level, and the next level. I don't think a judge should be any part of an appellate level if they were part of the case.
Yeah, that just doesn't feel right. Like,
if you're trying to appeal something, he's the first line of the defense. I mean, first line of the appellate, is it not?
This new prosecutor?
Yeah, no, I'm saying if, like, for example, Sarah Boone, her first level of appeals is going to be with Kranick.
Yeah.
He will deny those, and then she'll take it above him. I don't think, Bullbutter said absolutely not. I know, Dr. Bullbutter, that the retrial's always done by the same judge. I don't agree with that.
Yeah, I don't either. Like, that just doesn't make much sense to me. Like, you should restart it. Like, if you want to restart a trial, actually restart it, with everything new, everything fresh. Just throw everything else out and just start fresh.
I think Kranick is the only one who can handle Boone.
Yeah.
If you had more judges like him, I wouldn't feel this way. But you got a lot of Auntie Bevs out there. And I just don't think she needs to be judging no more. But did you see the woman on YouTube that looks a lot like Auntie Bev? And she did parodies of what she was doing in the court. This woman's going to be famous. I think they should recuse themselves. Toxic Orchid said, unless the judge refuses himself. Sorry. That's what she said. Retrial is a case of mistrial, not an appeal. I'm talking two separate things, Dr. Bullbutter, I may not be clear. You have those who get retrials or mistrials, and then you have the appellate issue. They're separate. I don't think that if you are in a situation to where you're going for an appellate issue, you shouldn't be able to appeal to the judge that was sitting on your case. If you're going for a retrial or mistrial, I don't think that the judge should be that heard your case the first time should be hearing it the second. Once again, that is my opinion. It is not the law. This is a night of opinions, not necessarily all the law. All her huffing at the beginning of the trial was so unprofessional, Auntie Bev. No. And Toxic says, not to mention her, oh, I can't read it. My glasses are struggling. But yeah, it's just one of those things. So what is your thoughts on the Kohlberger?
In general, or the death, so it's DP?
It's been said so much, just it's okay. They demonetize me, so what? Tonight, I don't care.
In terms of that case, I can see why they're going for it. It is a very horrific murder, and
4 college kids. And I know
kids.
when I call them college kids, they're adults.
But they are kids.
But
like,
in my mind and eyes, as a 53-year-old woman, honey boo boo, you a kid still.
Fair. Fair.
Baby.
Fair. But I'm kind of the same way when I see like high school kids or even like early college school kids. I'm just like, oh, they're so small, so little. Oh, they're so little. Oh, I'm 27.
Honey, you ain't far from them.
I know, but it's just, I don't know. It just, it's odd. Growing up is odd.
Until you grow old, and then it's scary as hell. Haley Mouse goes, oh, I just drank some hot chocolate. Yummy. And I feel warm up from the inside out. Congrats.
That sounds good.
I'm 50. Anything under 30 is a baby. I hated it when people called me baby. And they still do. I have friends in their 70s and 80s, and they're like, oh, you're just a baby. I'm like, by the time I stop hearing that, I'm going to be 1 foot in the grave.
I'm kind of the same way now, but like
I need to make an announcement. Go to As the Gavel Drops, because they hold on. As the Gavel Drops is a place where you can go and get all your court documents in one location for all of the popular and up-to-date cases. Right now, they had a bunch of new stuff drop. So on Discord, go to As the Gavel Drops. You must validate your identity, and then you can shop for documents till you drop. So what court do you want? What case you want to talk about?
I mean, there's so many happening.
Your button. Where's your? I'm trying to figure out what to do next.
Fair.
There's nothing.
I mean, there's just so many. And I mean, so many have passed too now, like have actually gone through like the Boone trial. I thought that was never, ever going to happen.
It's feast or famine in this industry, because all the court cases, they're trying to get them done prior to the holidays so everybody can have their vacay, which is fine and great. It's a very slow month. I think what we'll do in December is just replay a bunch of old trials like everybody else. But we do have the situation coming up. We do have tomorrow. Tomorrow is the indictment of the sheriff who unalived the judge. And then I don't think we have anything else the rest of the week.
Dang.
I thought somebody was going to be in trial up until Wednesday, but I think that trial ended. I don't know. I'm not sure. January will be busy though. We have a lot going on in January, and yep. They have a lot of trials in January in Discord. That's January is going to be crazy busy. The big one is Karen Reed. Good question, and question for everybody. I kind of know what my peeps are going to say over here. Oh, this sentencing, Lori Shaver's sentencing is this Tuesday. Oh, gee, gads, I got to get that on the calendar. I didn't realize. I don't know when Ferris. I have to look at the calendar for Ferris. But that one's not on my calendar. The Karen Reed trial. A lot of people are saying that they're not going to. Wait a minute, didn't I just put her on there? Is it the 26th? Is Lori Shaver? Okay, we'll add it. Would you watch that trial completely all over again?
Which one?
The Karen Reed.
Yeah, I would.
And
I mean, okay, it's the only thing I could do most of it, but at some point I think I would just be so done with Lally that I'd just be sitting there like, stop. Like, please stop. You're hurting my brain.
Well, but the thing is that you said December 5th is Lori Schaefer? Okay.
Isn't something happening on December 2nd or something like that?
Yes, there is. Let me get to it. I'm adding this in. Hearing save. December 2nd, we have Sarah Reed sentencing on the 2nd. We have the Delphi sentencing on the 20th. Driver sentencing on the 12th. Lori Schaefer on the 5th, and Sarah Boone on the 2nd.
Dang.
Now they're saying November 25th for Shaver. What?
Oh, and that's tomorrow.
That's tomorrow. Okay. Let me move it. Let me move the date. So, a lot of people are saying they're not going to watch the Karen Reed trial. And I have to say this, guys, whole new attorney involved. Okay. Your DA, it's a special appointment. It's not going to be the same DA. And this guy, the way he's handling the case, I think it's going to be interesting. It's going to be very, very interesting.
I'm willing to watch it just because there's a new DA. Like, lollygagging is gone. We're good. As long as he's not in the picture anymore, we're good.
I don't want to hear Melody's the 5th, right? I do not want to hear about the weather.
I was just like, as a Canadian, I was laughing. Okay, like I was just like, that much snow and you're having a whole meltdown. Like, what's happening? Like that amount of snow where we are. The amount of snow where like I am, that much, I'd be like, I mean, I'm still going to work that day. And they'd still make us go to school on that day too, which kind of sucks. But I mean, Canada. Hopefully we don't have to hear about the high tops anymore, or anything else like that, or the basketball game. We could also skip that too.
Sorry, guys, definitely. For those of you who know, my sister was in the hospital. She got out yesterday. She is not doing well. We think the cancer may have gone to the brain. And if it has, so I take every phone call. Apologies. And I won't be able to stay on much longer because I have to go. But the thing about the Karen Reed trial is I don't want to hear any more about whether, I know they're going to have to set it up to a point. I don't want to hear what if any, what if ever, every 5 seconds. I don't want to see Auntie Bev doing this with her glasses and going, if you must. Because I have got some good sound effects for Auntie Bev. I've got the fart sound for her when she starts giving that. And I've got the whirl sound. So when she's doing this and you hear the, you'll know that's because she's doing, we're going to have fun. I know
that's going to be great.
I had somebody get mad at me and left a comment that was pissy, saying the sound effects are inappropriate and immature, and that if I want to
hit my voice and talk like a little girl,
or drop it into the bass,
I'm being unprofessional.
We need a bit of variety, a bit of spice of life, a little bit of something, or else it would get so monotonous and like my brain would die. Like I can't, the monotony, I can't.
Well, every time I said anything about Sarah Boone, because she's a hot siren, that's all she does.
She's a hot mess is what she is. Not even a hot mess, she's just a mess.
Oh, and then when she came in the room, when she came in, oh, that's not what I wanted. Where is it? Where is it? Oh my God! We're going to have fun with this because I tell you, listening to this trial for the second time is going to be sometimes very difficult. I want to know if they're going to, I'm so sorry, Dr. Bullbutter, I just scared your dogs.
Woof, woof, woof.
I'm sorry, I'm having fun. But with her trial, are they going to bring Proctor back? I don't think they can. I don't think they should. And if they do,
should not.
They should not. Well, the part of the problem with Proctor is his situation. His, sorry, Dr. Bullbutter, I love you. His whole situation, it's very precarious right now.
It is.
Then the evidence, remember when they pulled the headlight out of the bag and they said there should only be 3 pieces and it ended up being 5 pieces in the bag? This is the kind of stuff I'm going to be wondering and watching very closely to see if this stuff has actually been, did they go back and manipulate that to fix it?
Yeah, like, I mean, it sounds like this entire trial, that's what they did. Like this entire, like from the case starting, it feels like that's what they did.
I have a friend who's an ex-police officer, retired. I have multiple of them. Let's just put it that way. But this one, particularly the last years, she wanted to get out of the streets and was evidence. She was in charge of all the evidence. And when I told her that they scooped up blood in a red Solo cup, the look on that poor woman's face was like, first of all, if there's blood in the snow, it's non-usable. It's too contaminated. It's not something that they could use. Roll on the floor, they can go somewhere else and watch the stick in the muds. Okay, that's fair enough. But then you have the leaf blower and personal shovels and all of that stuff. And then
Leaf blower.
I was rewatching some of this stuff, and the first officer on scene, it's like the first thing you do when you get on scene is, number one, you check your surroundings. Number two, you have a victim and they're doing CPR. So you kind of have to attend to that. You got some witnesses there, so you need to tell them to separate. You've put up the dang tape immediately. Yeah, I know they really can't bring him back, but what's the specific reason? I'll probably say it wrong, but if you know Toxic, let me know. But talking about Proctor, and I was able to get the floor, the drawing of the house and the diagram of the house. Oh, that's right. He's Brady listed. He can't testify again. He's Brady listed.
Ruh-roh.
Ruh-roh. I need that. I need a dog going ruh-roh. I also have, when they sold the home, I got all of the inside pictures from the real estate company that they had took when they sold the home with their furniture in it. And let me tell you, there was a lot of dust. It wasn't very clean, especially if you're trying to sell it. So the only place that was immaculately clean was the basement with all of the equipment. So don't get Proctor fired. I thought has he been fired yet, or is he still under investigation?
I don't know.
I thought he'd been fired already. He was.
I know he's on.
Yes, he was fired, and he was also banned from testifying in the new trial. Yeah.
Yay.
Freshly, yeah. A brand new floor. And what shocked me is, like, where's your receipt? You said there was plumbing damage. That's why you had to do it. So where's the plumbing receipt for the repair? That states what it was and how much you paid. And then, of course, if you had to go below the concrete, you're going to have bill from the concrete company to relay the slab. Then you're going to have, I want to see all the receipts. Come on. Where are the receipts? Where were the permits pulled for them to do those repairs from the city? Because that kind of repair, you need to get permits. Where are the permits? No, they weren't interested in investigating it in the least. And once again, the plow truck company was owned by another police officer.
I did like Lucky though.
Huh?
He was funny. The driver, the one that was on that route that night.
Lucky,
I think his name was Lucky.
Hilarious.
Yeah, I loved him.
Yeah.
He was great.
He wasn't the one that called in the dispatch for the snowplow company and said, "Hey, there is a person that is laying in the snow." And see, the drivers to call dispatch, their dispatch is to call 911, and they're to keep going. And that's the procedure. And when the person who called into dispatch and said, "Hey, what happened to the guy?" the boss, who's the cop, said, "If you talk about this in any way, shape, or form, you will never have a job again." This witness has an affidavit to all this, and they were never called. So I'm going to be interested to see who they call this time that they didn't call last time. Hold on, Haley Mouse. Any other person having someone found in their lawn like that would have been investigated in order to be excluded? That's right. I want to know why they couldn't put poles in the ground and put up a canopy to protect the crime. They could have. The other thing that
But
I
leaf
want to know
blower.
is why were the two boys that night or that early morning not spoken to? The boys
Yeah.
lived in the home. They never spoke to him. They never saw him or the dog. Oh, yeah, they were hiding down in the basement. Or they left through the basement. And then you have, what's his name? The other son who left early. They didn't even look to see if the glass that was found matched any of the glasses in the house. Exactly. Now, I can see where the glass may have come from them and then turned, that they may have brought it from the bar and it may have gotten thrown. So, anyway, there's a whole lot to dig through, a ton to dig through in this case. They didn't tell the police that Colin had even been there that night. That's right. So this is going to be an interesting thing if it does go off in January. We have a chance that it may not. But I am going to have to bolt. I have to go take care of family. But I appreciate you, ADHD Jelly Bean. You can stay on until I sign off, but I appreciate you hopping on. Love to have people hop on. It's always fun when we do. I will be on tomorrow morning, probably late. As soon as I know what time the hearings start, I'll be popping on. Right now, I don't know the exact times, but I will discover that. I'll be here between 8 and 9 in the morning. It's night, just not having to get up at 5:30 to be here by 7. So I'm having a break from my early mornings with trial. Thank you so much. You've been doing well. I haven't heard much.
I mean, I've been trying to find job and do all that kind of stuff, lots of job things, and working on it. Still working on it.
That's okay. Don't settle for the little things. Do what you want to do, and the right job will fall into your lap. Be patient.
I will be very patient. I've been very patient so far, and I keep applying to places.
Be patient. With that,
keep applying.
I apologize for heading out, but I appreciate every single one of you, and I hope you guys have a fabulous evening. I will see you tomorrow. I hope to see you tomorrow. Anytime you want to hop on, just let me know. Just put me in, and I'll send it to you, okay?
Sure.
You got everybody. Miigwech. Y'all have a fabulous, fabulous, fabulous rest of your evening. Love you. Oh, thank you so much, Orchid. Thank you. We'll go over those tomorrow. Be blessed. Good night. Thanks for watching. Please comment, like, share, and most importantly, subscribe. I hope you have an awesome day. Till next time, take care.